Greetings! Welcome to This, That, and the Other, where I react to, respond to, comment on, question, or otherwise propound on whatever I find of interest on any given day. Now, today's topic and another gracious hello to you. Back at the beginning of this project, I made a statement that I thought this was going to be maybe a 6 or 7 episode project. And it turns out that it's ending up being just 6 episodes just for the first part of it. But we will carry on and do what needs to be done. So let's go.
Stay closer, Roberts. They say that a great sorceress lives in these woods. An elf witch. I have the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox. Oh.
The dwarf breathed so loud we could have shot him in the dark.
The company reaches the woods of Lothlorien and are accosted by the elves. Now, as often happens, the interaction in the book is quite different from that in the film. To start with, the "breathe so hard we could shoot him in the dark" remark was directed to the entire company, not just Gimli. Halder, the chief elf scout, Legolas, and Frodo climb a tree for a chat. The company that joins the elves in the treetops to rest for the night. The hobbits are delighted to have a decent meal. But all is not peaceful. A party of orcs pass by and were lured further into the woods. Halder declares, quote, "None of the orcs will ever return out of Lorien," unquote. And Frodo heard something around the base of the tree and saw what appeared to be 2 pale eyes. Halder reported, quote, "There was something in this tree that I have never seen before," unquote. Tolkien is trying to build up some suspense. I'm sure we all know what that is. Morning breaks, and the company is led into the heart of Lothlorien. Halder informs them that Gimli must be blindfolded. Now, this sets Gimli off on the latest round of centuries-old dwarf-elf friction until Aragorn makes peace by declaring the entire company shall be blindfolded. Which sets Legolas off. Eventually, Halder receives a message. The company may walk free. Diplomatically, he unblinds Gimli first. During a rest break, Frodo strolls to the hill of Cairn Amroth, where he finds Aragorn standing almost in a trance, reciting elvish words. Upon spying Frodo, he said, quote, "Here my heart dwells ever," unquote. It's not explained, but 39 years ago, when he was 49 and she was 2,739, Aragorn and Arwen became betrothed on this spot. Talk about your May December romances. Now, with Frodo, quote, "He left the hill of Cairn Amroth," unquote, and in one of Tolkien's most moving chapter-ending sentences, quote, "came there never again as living man," unquote.
Caras Galathon, the heart of elvendom on earth, realm of the lords Celeborn and of Galadriel, Lady of Light.
secrecy is now gone. 8 that are here, yet 9 there were set out from Rivendell. Tell me, where is Gandalf? For I much desire to speak with him. I can no longer see him from afar.
Gandalf the Grey did not pass the borders of this land. He has fallen into shadow.
He was taken by both shadow and flame. A Balrog of Morgoth. For we went needlessly into the net of Moria.
Needless were none of the deeds of Gandalf in life. We do not yet know his full purpose. Do not let the great emptiness of Khazad-dûm fill your heart, Gimli, son of Gloin. The quest stands upon the edge of a knife. Stray but a little and it will fail, to the ruin of all. Yet hope remains, while company is true. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Go now and rest, for you are weary with sorrow and much toil. Tonight, you will sleep. Welcome, Frodo of the Shire. One was in die.
Galadriel holds each member of the company in her gaze. Quote, all of them, it seemed, had fared alike. Each had felt that he was offered a choice between a shadow full of fear that laid ahead and something that he greatly desired, unquote. Now, this is the only suggestion anywhere of even the remotest possibility of telepathy. That was just a feeling.
A lament for Gandalf.
Take some rest. These borders are well protected.
I will find no rest here. I heard a voice inside my head. She spoke of my father and the fall of Gondor. She said to me, even now there is hope left. The lords of Gondor have returned.
Yeah, bare feet. And then there's the mirror of Galadriel.
Will you look into the mirror?
What will I see?
Even the wisest cannot tell.
Sam looked first and saw, quote, there's some devilry at work in the Shire, unquote. Frodo then looked and saw a vision of what was probably the reincarnation of Gandalf. Then Bilbo pacing in his room, followed by, quote, many swift scenes that Frodo in some way knew to be parts of a great history. Then he saw against the sun the black outline of a tall ship with torn sails, a wide river flowing through a populous city, then a white fortress, unquote. And more scenes that can only be prefiguration of the Battle of the Pelennor and finally his sailing into the west. In other words, none of the really nasty and violent scenes shown in the film. Then the Eye of Sauron.
so, Dark Lord, you would have a queen, not dark but beautiful and terrible! Treacherous as the sea!
The reactions to this scene tipped me off more than the pipe weed. It seems that most reactors buy into Gimli's witch conspiracy theory and go out of their way to try to prove it. Almost everyone cuts the scene before Galadriel says,
I pass the test. I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel.
and they all cut her showing the ring. Forgetting, of course, that she already showed it back in the prologue. That,
this task
they either weren't paying attention to or had
that
forgotten
if
about.
you do not find a way,
It's almost as if they want to show her in a bad light. Since they haven't read the book, they are unaware of Aragorn's stern statement to Boromir. Quote, "Speak no evil of the Lady Galadriel. You know not what you say. There is in her and in this land no evil, unless a man bring it hither himself." Unquote. This is the latest of the series of tests. Galadriel passes with flying colors. Now, part of this problem I lay directly at the feet of Peter Jackson for not really explaining what the elves are or who Galadriel is. Dare I again chant my mantra? Read the books. No
They
Saruman.
were elves once.
The night before departure, the company gathered with Celeborn and Galadriel and admitted they had still not decided on a route. Celeborn counsels them to take the river, since it will cover most of the distance more easily and safely than a land route, and they gladly accept. In the morning, Haldir returns to guide them to the boat landing. They and the elves load the boats with supplies, including the elvish equivalent of rope. Now, one of the elves explained, "Ropes, indeed, never travel far without a rope, and one that is long and strong and light." "You don't have to tell me about that," said Sam. "I came without any, and I've been worried ever since. Remember back at Rivendell?" Lembas was there and explained to Gimli by a nameless elf, not Legolas and our little gluttons.
Lembas. Elvish waybread. How many did you eat? 4.
Celeborn and Galadriel join them and distribute the gifts. Now, the gift giving is really dragged out. It's 2.5 pages in the book. In the film, it's intercut between a number of scenes, and they're not necessarily even the same gifts. Now, Sam's is not rope. There's a small box of Lothlorien soil to help him in his gardening when he returns home. And Sam's question about those nice shiny daggers is meaningless, since that's not what Merry and Pippin were given.
My gift for you, Legolas, is a bow of the Galadriel, worthy of the skill of our woodland kin. These are the daggers of the Noldorin. They have already seen service in war. Do not fear, young Peregrine Pook. You will find your courage. And for you, Samwise Gamgee, elven rope made of heathline.
Thank you, my lady. Have you got none of those nice shiny daggers?
And what gift would a dwarf ask the elf?
I asked her for one hair from her golden head. She gave me 3.
Farewell, Frodo Baggins. I give you the light of Elendil. most beloved star. May it be a light for you in dark places when all other lights go out. I have nothing greater to give than the gift you already bear. A melody, the antiguil alwen domiel, Dieta.
Anidoni broniatha, ale periatha.
Family lineages aren't big in the movies, but it's moderately important to note that Galadriel is Elrond's mother-in-law, and therefore Arwen's grandmother, which makes, quote, I have nothing greater to give than the gift you already bear, unquote, more moving and meaningful. She had given that jewel to Celebrian, her daughter, who passed it on to her daughter, Arwen. Now, it's Frodo that spots Gollum, not Boromir.
I had hoped we would lose him on the river, but he's too clever a waterman.
Where's Frodo?
Frodo asks for an hour alone to decide on his course. He walks off with everyone trying not to stare, except Boromir. Now, without being observed, Boromir follows a bit later. Now, their encounter is largely as filmed.
None of us should wander alone. You least of all.
Frodo? Frodo? What have I done? Please, Frodo.
Frodo climbs Amon Hen, the Hill of the Eye, still wearing the ring, and takes a good look at the surrounding lands. Despair and hopelessness were growing in him. Then he was aware of the Eye. He fought with himself and finally found the strength to remove the ring. He also found the resolve to, quote, do now what I must do. The ring must leave them. I will go alone, at once, unquote. And he put the ring back on and ran down the hill.
Frodo? It has taken Boromir. Where is the ring? Stay away! Frodo! I swore to protect you.
Aragorn is tested and passes, big time.
I would have gone with you to the end.
Now, the others were wondering where he had gotten to and were debating what they thought he would end up doing and what they would do. Only Sam understood Frodo was working up the courage to leave. Boromir reappeared, hesitating to explain his absence. Everyone starts running around hither and thither without any guidance. Now, eventually, Sam calmed himself down enough to think. Steady, Gamgee. Think if you can. He can't fly across rivers. He can't jump waterfalls. He's got no gear. He's got to get back to the boats. Back to the boats, Sam. Back to the boats like lightning. Which is what he does. Now, he makes it back just as what appears to be an empty boat starts away from the shore. and shouting his battle cry, "I'm coming with you!"
Run! Frodo!
Now, I've edited the ending by moving the scene ahead a little, because that's where the Fellowship of the Ring ends in print. Boromir's death is actually the first chapter of The Two Towers.
No, Sam.
Go back, Sam! I'm going to Mordor alone. Of course you are. And I'm coming with you! Promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to. Oh, Sam. Mordor. I'm glad you're with me.
The final battle is far beyond what was in the book. Like, it doesn't really even exist. The aftermath is described, but none of the actual fighting. Aragorn is the one who hears the horn, but arrives too late to do anything.
You fought bravely. You have kept your honor. Leave it. It is over.
What can be said about
The
Boromir's
world
death?
of men will fall.
Anyone
And all
not moved to
comes
tears just isn't
And my
human.
sister's ruin.
So why are so many reactors so concerned about how many
I
movies
do not know
Sean
what
Bean
strength
died
is
in?
in my blood.
I swear to you, I will not let the White City fall.
Remember his words back at the Council of Elrond?
Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king. I would have followed you, my brother. My captain. My king.
Now listen to him. His last dying words were literally, my king. Once again, I can't remember anyone noticing that. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli commit Boromir's earthly remains to the deep and head off to rescue Merry and Pippin.
Frodo's fate is no longer in our hands. We will not abandon Merry and Pippin to torment and death. Let's hunt some orc.
Aragorn's closing words were actually, "Forth the 300s." Hey, there's still 26 minutes of credits. Where are you going? There's a note at the end of the book, obviously added by some Houghton Mifflin editor. The second part is called The Two Towers. Since the events recounted in it are dominated by Orthanc, the citadel of Saruman, and the fortress of Minas Morgul, the guard of the secret entrance to Mordor, unquote. Jackson read this and uses it, but ignored Elrond's version back at the council. Quote, and Minas Ithil they built, and Minas Anor they made. Dark things crept back to Gorgoroth. They took Minas Ithil, and that is called Minas Morgul. Then Minas Anor was named anew Minas Tirith, unquote. Okay, so maybe Elrond's version wasn't definitive as far as being the Two Towers, but it's Elrond, not some publisher's hack. I'd rather believe him. Sorry, Peter. And so we come to the end of another episode, and the end of the Fellowship, even if it is a chapter late. Next time, we head simultaneously to Mordor and to Rohan. That ought to be fun.